you got a miracle, but it wasn't easy. You are one of the few who did manage to get pregnant, notwithstanding what had been done to you, being pumped full of male hormones, being deprived of your female adolescence and transition into womanhood, having your breasts chopped off, and somehow, well, I mean, we know how, but amazingly, you had a miracle happen to you, I think, and you found yourself pregnant. So talk about that moment when you saw the pregnancy test and, saw what we all see, which is like the 2 lines, and you can't believe it even when you haven't gone through what you've gone through.
Gosh, yeah. So my doctor had asked me, due to a missed period, if I could possibly be pregnant, to which, I laughed and said it was impossible, but I found myself, feeling paranoid throughout the day. So I had one pregnancy test from a long time ago that I had taken because I don't know, wanted that to be possible, but it wasn't. And I wasn't using any sort of birth control or anything until this point, to try to prevent it, because it just wasn't happening. But I started birth control finally to try to heal my hormones, because I had a doctor who was willing to prescribe it. And so I took this test and it said pregnant. So then I got 2 more. I got another regular one, and then one that would say it electronically, like the word pregnant, and they both said pregnant. And I sent a picture to my boyfriend and asked him if my eyes were working. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was utterly shocked. I was wondering how I could have like 3 false positives and what like chemical could be in the air in my house or something. I mean, it seemed more realistic than my being pregnant.
Wow. And yet, notwithstanding that blessing, you've been through it. I mean, you have been through it. So talk about how the experience of being pregnant was different for you, given what they did.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, emotionally and mentally incredibly traumatic, in a lot of different ways. I feel guilty about it, but I spent the beginning of my pregnancy sort of like suicidal. I thought that my baby was going to be sick and made out of bad material and harmed. And I'm very lucky that my child just happened to be male, because this could be worse if he was female. He was large and I had to take medicine to try and prevent that, and it still happened. And I had to take a lot of medicine, because my hormones continue to be imbalanced with low estrogen and progesterone and high testosterone. But my estrogen and progesterone did start getting higher naturally with the pregnancy, as well as the prescriptions. But this led to, being hyperemetic, and I threw up every single day and night, all the time, like for 9 months. I actually did not stop throwing up until the second he was out of me. Like, I was laying on my back and throwing up on the operating table, and I started throwing up at like 5 weeks. So that was insane. And uh,
There was something with the
the
size of your hips.
oh, yes, yes. There's the atrophy issues, which made it so I had to have a C-section. So that means, mentally and emotionally preparing for another surgery, which I mean, it was shocking to find out all of a sudden I was, 9 months away from a major abdominal surgery. And I had no choice, because, the atrophy isn't just vaginal. So it wasn't just a risk of tearing and I could choose to possibly go through that. It's like full-blown pelvic atrophy. And with the eating disorder and then starting testosterone at the age in which I did, my hips aren't fully apart. So he just wouldn't fit, with his big size and my small size there. It just was impossible. So I had to have a surgery again. And then, the chest issue, is
Yeah,
probably.
the chest issue is addressed in this piece put out by the IWF on your story, and there's a clip that we've pulled. Kelsey, I'll ask you about this. You put this film together, where you're talking about now. Thank God your son has been born and he's healthy, but you're struggling with who you are and what might have been. Here it is in SOT 2.
I know a lot of women do not breastfeed, and that's fine. I'm just sad that I don't get to choose that. And it's not even just the breastfeeding part. My chest is hard and flat and not soft for him, and it's numb for me. And I know he'll feel me, but my chest isn't soft and pillowy the way it's supposed to be, and I have hair on it, and I have scars on it, and when he's there, I won't feel anything. I try not to, but I think a lot about the fact that if I held my baby, or if I set my chest on fire, it would feel like the same exact thing. Nothing.
Boy, before I go to you on that, Kelsey, Prisha, how has it been now that he's been born? That was a clip when you were pregnant.
I don't like to just be depressing, but I'm honest, and it's been worse. Worse. I had been going to therapy for months to cope with the fact that I was going to be numb. I didn't know that I was also going to be in pain. Shortly after I took him home, I started having this problem with my chest. His crying and the smell of the donor breast milk that was given to me by kind women who care about the fact that my ability to feed my son was taken away, started causing hormonal reactions in what is apparently leftover breast tissue in my chest, which I didn't know. I mean, I need like an ultrasound or something in my chest because I don't know what's going on. I'm numb on the top of my chest, and I continue to be unable to feel on my skin or him or myself or my boyfriend or anyone. But there's like chest tissue that is becoming engorged and filling with milk that is trapped in between scar tissue that's under my chest. I got these like rocks in my chest. When it happens, like you can see it physically, like my chest getting large rocks in it, but it's not two like breasts, like it's little rocks and lumps, and they're hot and they're painful, and you can physically see it. Even my scars on the outside look different in some places where I had rocks under them because they stretched and tore on the first time that it happened. And I didn't expect that. I had no idea because no one knew, no one knows anything.
Yeah, no one knows anything. The story, just for the listening audience, Kelsey is told, you can see it at youtube.com/independent women's forum, and it's called Identity Crisis, Prisha's story in more full detail. But I know, you and I both know, Kelsey, that this is not disclosed on the preformed approval letters that are waiting on the doctor's computers when young women like Prisha walk in. It's just, oh, you think you're a man? Great, you're a man. This isn't disclosed. Any of this, what is going to happen to these children?
Well, Prisha's right. It's not disclosed because doctors don't necessarily know. They're not necessarily able to predict that this is going to happen because this is all a huge medical experiment. And not only did Prisha have to go through this as a young, vulnerable, mentally ill teenager, she's now having to go through a second medical experiment of being one of the first detransitioners to get pregnant after hormones and surgery, and then have to learn about these complications as they come, ask her doctors, and hear her doctors bluntly tell her, I don't know. And Prisha, as she said, that's not what I want to hear, but at least it's an honest answer this time, because as they were prescribing the cross-sex hormones, as they were surgically removing her breasts, they did act like they knew everything. They did act like this was going to be this magic wand to cure all of Prisha's problems. Sadly, it's only made her life more difficult, and it's so unfair. You know, I think any of us mothers can relate. We know exactly what Prisha's talking about. She hears her baby cry. her body knows what to do. Her milk is coming in. And because this doctor removed her breast, not only removed her breast, but surgically removed her nipples and reattached them to different parts of her body, the milk has nowhere to go. Imagine how traumatizing that is. It's hard enough for any mother who gets things like mastitis. Imagine how traumatizing that is for Prisha every day of her new motherhood journey right now, dealing with this. It's not fair. It should have never happened, and it should never happen to anybody else.
Oh, you completely agree. I'm infuriated by the fact they did this to you, Prisha. You were a young girl with some psychological challenges who needed therapy. You didn't need these gruesome doctors cutting you up. This is outrageous. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.